What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Philly Frenzy podcast. I'm your host, Matt, as always. Today I'm with my co-host, Rob, like always. What is going on, Rob?
Just excited to come on and chat it up about sports as usual. So, I'm ready to get into this thing, man. What are we talking about?
All right, so today we're going to hit on the NBA. We're going to touch on the playoff race, the MVP race, and, that's going to be our NBA content for the week as we get closer to the NBA playoffs. I think it's right that we start touching on the playoff picture and this MVP race.
Well, I mean, everybody's got a chance to get into the NBA.
Well, everyone's got a chance to get in on the East. Not so much the West.
I mean, pretty. I don't think Orlando or Detroit really have much of a chance of getting in right now, but because they're I don't know, I think 6 games behind 10th place even.
Yes, they're 6.5. Both are 6.5 games back of the Chicago Bulls and 8.5 back of the Indiana Pacers. So starting on the East Coast, your bubble teams are Miami, Charlotte, Indiana, and surprisingly Chicago. They have won their last 2. They're 5-5 in their last 10. The deal to get Vucevic at the trade deadline could actually get them out of the bubble. Rob, I know you stopped me and actually corrected me. Do you remember how the bubble is working?
So, the way the NBA bubble works is in each conference, the 7th seed and 8th seed will play a game against each other.
Okay.
The winner of that game then becomes the 7 seed in the playoff.
Okay.
Then the 9 and 10 seed play each other. Loser is eliminated. Winner moves on to play the loser of the 7 and 8 seed game, and the winner of that game will become the 8th seed in the playoffs. The other 2 teams will be eliminated. So, by all accounts, right now, if in the East it would be Miami versus Charlotte. So if Charlotte beat Miami, Miami would still be in it. They'd play the winner of Indiana-Chicago. But if they lost that game, they could be out of the playoffs even though they were the 7 seed going in.
Okay, so the 7 and 8 seed, one of them is technically safe.
Yes.
Okay.
7 and 8 seed basically get double elimination.
Okay.
That's what they've been awarded by being who would have been normally in the playoffs. So it's still you do get a benefit from being the 7 or 8 seed.
Okay,
which is that you have 2 chances to get in instead of just I have to win all my games.
With that being said, I'm going to give you my prediction. I'm going to have Miami beat Charlotte. I'm going to have Chicago beat Indiana, and then Chicago beating Charlotte to get the 8th seed.
I would probably agree with that, actually. I think Chicago made some decent moves at the deadline and improved their team enough that they can definitely beat these other teams.
So with that, we have some pretty decent matchups going into the playoffs. You get Philly, Chicago in the first round, Brooklyn, Miami, Milwaukee, Boston, and then you get a very uncommon 4-5 matchup as of today. Atlanta and the Knicks. The Knicks are on 7-game winning streak.
Yeah. They're 8-2 in their last 10. So is Atlanta, and by the way, so is Boston. I know they lost their last game, but in their last 10, they are 8-2. They have been playing a lot better basketball as of late.
Yeah, and I should bring up Washington when we talk about the top 10 teams. Washington is technically tied with Chicago, but Chicago holds the tiebreaker at the moment. Um,
which I believe is I would guess it's divisional record because I know Chicago has a better division record than
I believe it
Washington
goes.
does.
I believe it goes head to head and then divisional.
Okay.
And I believe Chicago does hold the advantage over Washington, but the divisional and the conference record do end up playing a role at some point.
Washington's been pretty hot lately too, which is why they're still in this thing. I think they've won 7 of their last 10.
Yes.
So I mean, well, we all know Bradley Beal is just Bradley buckets out here, putting up 30 a game. So that man's trying to will that team into the playoffs.
There is one thing to keep an eye on in the top 6 of the Eastern Conference, and it's Brooklyn. We don't know the extent of KD. We don't know if he's actually going to be able to play again before the NBA Finals if the Nets were to reach the NBA Finals. There's a lot of discussions going on right now that he wouldn't be back until the Finals. If that's the case, I believe that hurts Brooklyn's chances, and I do feel like that helps Milwaukee and Philadelphia having to play against a KD-less Brooklyn.
I agree.
So I think that makes Philadelphia the favorite.
KD is not only a loss of offense, it's a major loss of defense for that Brooklyn squad. He is somebody who can guard the rim. He's not great at it, but he can. As well as, I mean, anytime you're losing a guy of that size, that hurts your rotation defensively.
Switching over to this Western Conference.
Man, I'm loving the bubble in the West right now. I think you're going to see some good games out of that.
Before we get into the bubble, I'm going to do it flip-flopping this. This top 6 is a lot closer than it was, I want to say about a month ago. Your 2, 3, and 4 being Phoenix is 8-2 in their last 10. The Clippers are 9-1 in their last 10. And the Nuggets are 8-2 in their last 10. These 3 teams have now pulled, the Nuggets being the farthest of the 3 out, 5.5 games within Utah, who seemed like they were going to be running away with the Western Conference. So we're starting to see a lot.
Yeah, Utah's been struggling a little bit lately. Obviously, the Lakers without LeBron James are literally a 500 basketball team at best, because LeBron James is probably one of the most impactful players in NBA history to a team's winning percentage directly. But Utah hasn't been great in the last 10. They're 6-4. They've gone on a little bit of a slide. It'll be interesting to see what happens out there. I think if one of these teams behind them can stay red hot, they can end up passing them, but you could also see Utah get red hot again, too. Don't put that past that roster. There's a lot of talent there.
Yeah, there's also a Donovan Mitchell injury, which I believe he has come back, or he's supposed to be coming back this week. So they're not going to be without him much longer. Switching to the bubble in the Western Conference, the only team in the top 6 that I feel should be worried about possibly playing in the bubble is Portland. They're 3-7 in their last 10. I think Dallas can catch them. It doesn't help Dallas is 5-5 over the last 10, but I do believe Dallas is the better of the 2 teams, and I could see Dallas getting their playoff spot wrapped up, and then we get to see Portland actually in this bubble, where with this bubble it's kind of clear cut on, as of today, it's going to be Dallas and Golden State getting out of the bubble.
That would be my guess. Dallas would be Memphis in that first series, and then Golden State will beat San Antonio. Golden State would also, I think, just with the experience they have, be able to beat Memphis. It would be an upset to me if they lost.
Yeah, and I'm going to go out on a limb here. If Utah stays the number 1 seed and Golden State does get this 8th seed, Golden State will upset Utah in the first round.
If Mitchell's 100%, I don't think so.
I could actually see 2 upsets in the first round. If it was to stay the way it is today, I could see Golden State beating Utah in the first round, and Dallas.
I could see it, but I don't know that I would go out on that one.
Dallas beating Phoenix in the first round.
I could see that happening. I mean, I hope I don't. I like Dallas. I like Luka. But man, I really want to see Chris Paul make another run with a team that just shouldn't even be there.
Now,
the dude's absolutely ridiculous.
As an NBA fan, I'm hoping that the Lakers fall to the 6th seed and we get Clippers-Lakers in the first round.
Oh, man.
That's going to be the best series in the whole playoffs. And if we get that in the first round, I mean, besides Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and Philly, whatever combination of them 3 play each other in the conference finals.
Even if it stays the way it is now, Lakers, Denver, that's a fun series, man.
It is, but the
Jokic and Anthony Davis battling down low.
It is, but the loss of Jamal Murray, I feel like, gives the Lakers the advantage there. I know that they're still, they're on a 3-game winning streak without Murray. Jokic is playing out of his mind. I just don't think Denver could beat the Lakers. I don't even think Denver would push it more.
You're probably right, but
I don't think they'd push them more than 5.
The fun part of that matchup would be watching Anthony Davis and Jokic battle.
Yeah.
2 of the best big men in basketball right now. It would just be fun to watch them battle down low.
All right, so we hit on the bubbles and the teams that are in the playoffs and potential matchups and potential upsets that I believe can happen. Let's switch over to this MVP race. So it seems like it's kind of like a 2-man race with one guy not far off, but he's a little bit further back than people are pointing out. So I'll just start from the bottom. One guy who's not getting mentioned and should be getting mentioned in this MVP talk, it's Chris Paul. In Phoenix's last 6 games, they're 5-1. Chris Paul has 59 assists to 3 turnovers. The assist to turnover ratio in them last 6 games of 59-3 is really something that I haven't seen, nor can I really remember a point guard being this dominant and taking advantage of not turning the ball over. He's turned Phoenix into a winning culture. They're sitting 41-16. They're in second place in the East. They're a game and a half out.
Yeah, they're just behind, and right now that gives them the second best record in the NBA.
Yeah, so I do believe that he should be getting a lot more conversation about this MVP race.
Well, and the only reason he's not, and every real fan knows it, the NBA MVP has become a statistics award instead of what the name of it actually is, which is most valuable player, not most put up the best stat line player.
Yeah.
Value to me means what is your team with you versus what is your team without you. And I think without Chris Paul, the Phoenix Suns would be struggling to make the playoffs. I think he's that much of an impact on that roster and those younger guys.
So let's get into the three names that really have been the three guys, the vocal point of this MVP race. I'm going to start with who I have currently sitting third, and that's Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is the first center since 1969-1970 to average more than 11 free throw attempts a game, sitting at 11.8 as of right now. The record is 13.1. Or, not the record. The last time it was done, it was 13.1 free throws a game by Wilt. I know free throws is a stat that's not important, that's talked about as much, but when you're shooting 82, 83, 84% from the free throw line and you're getting there 12 times a game, you know, that makes a big difference in... It could make a big difference in a game, especially when you see centers struggle at the free throw line. Joel has done the complete opposite. He is averaging just about 30 points a game. He's at 29.9, 11.2 rebounds a game, and he also is averaging 1.4 blocks a game. Joel has the most 40 and 10 games in the league at 4. The next closest guy, I believe, was 1. And I do not remember who that was. So Joel is completely on a different level. He does have the Sixers at 39 and 18, which is first in the East as of right now. But the two guys in front of him, to me, one of them in Jokic, he's just different.
He is the best passing big man possibly ever.
He's averaging 8.8.
Just shy of 9 assists. He's a center. He's 4th in the NBA in assists as a center. That means there's only 3 point guards that point more assists out than Jokic does.
He has the same amount of assists per game as Chris Paul.
To me, that it makes him... He's my leader right now for MVP. And the assists is a big reason why. Because for me, I, again, like to look at the value portion of most valuable player. And a guy who can dot assists like that and get his guys open looks is not only elevating himself, he's elevating his team. To me, assists is a super valuable stat, especially when you're getting them at that volume from your center. On top of the fact that he's averaging like 28 and like 11 rebounds right now too, which is just insane.
Yeah, he's averaging his stat line. He's at 26.5 points a game, 11 rebounds a game. We'll just bump it up, 9 assists per game, a steal and a quarter, or 1.25 steals a game, and just over a half a block a game. They are sitting in 4th in the West at 37 and 20. Jokic is also, since the Jamal Murray injury, kept the Nuggets 3-0. In them 3 games, he's put up 93 points, 41 rebounds, and 26 assists. I do know in his last game, they went to double overtime. They ended up winning against Memphis. He did have 7 turnovers. I don't really think that means much.
Mind you, also, he's doing all this on like 57% shooting from the field, which is his career high. And he's currently, every one of those stats you just named, points, rebounds, and assists, he's top 10 in all of them across the board. And as our friend Chris, a stat our friend Chris would like as an analytics stat, the new stat PER, player efficiency rating,
He's number 1 in the league.
I understand.
So, I mean, he's putting together an impressive year. One of the most impressive years I've ever seen.
That's your MVP. I get that. My MVP is the only reason Golden State is in the playoffs. Well, technically they wouldn't be if this was, a couple years ago or last year. But Steph Curry.
He's number 2.
Okay. In the month of April, this man is averaging 41 points a game on 50% from the arc. 50 and 41 a game. He just dropped 49 against Philly. They're 6-4 this month. It's Steph Curry and a bunch of, I guess you could say, role bench players.
Well, they lost their young center.
Yes. Clay's out for the year.
Clay's out for the year, and Green is just getting old. Draymond's a little bit older and a little bit past his prime. Not saying he's a bad player, but he's not a top 15, 20 player anymore.
No, he's just not going to give you 15 a night.
No, he just doesn't have that left in the tank, which I get. Now, I understand why you like Curry. I mean, 31.4 points a game. He's number 1 in the league. He, for a small point guard, at 5.5 rebounds a game, to me, that's a good number. I'm not a Russell Westbrook guy where I want everybody to clear out so my point guard can get the rebounds. I think that's kind of dumb. Just get the rebound as fast as you can. But I know he's not playing with great guys, but as a point guard, shouldn't you have a little bit more than 6 assists a game? I get that the talent level on the team is a little low right now, but not even at 6 assists a game, just shy of it at 5.9. That doesn't seem too low to you?
No.
For an MVP year?
I would, if this was a healthy Klay Thompson, I've bashed Curry. I've said I don't have him in my top 5. I might not have him in my top 10 point guards of all time. One thing that this Golden State team has done, I'd actually have to look at the statistics. Under Steve Kerr, this team is really team-oriented, and they're a pass-first team. So, a guy like Draymond on your team, I don't know what he's averaging this year, but Draymond's usually close to about 8-9 assists a game. Wiggins is probably averaging about 3-4 assists a game. Kelly Oubre, he's just a lost cause. I don't like him. I don't think he's good.
Yeah, I mean, Draymond, I think, is at like 8.5 right now.
So, I would, as a guard, I'm expecting you to have, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 assists per game. But when you have a guy like Draymond on your team who's averaging 8.5, 9, 9.5 assists a game, I feel like it tends to take a little bit of pressure off you because you're not, when you're passing the ball, you're not looking to get the assist. You're moving the ball to move the defense, and then the ball is going to come back to you. It reminds me a little bit of Iverson early on with the Sixers, where it was, all right, we're going to move the ball to swing the defense and then get it back to him because he's our number 1 option. And even when there's double coverage, Curry is the number 1 option on that team. And if you take a guy like Jamal Murray, I don't know what he was averaging. Let me look this up real quick. I don't know exactly what Jamal Murray was averaging assist per game. He's playing with somebody like, well, he's more talented, but he was playing with somebody like Draymond Green and Jokic. Jokic is a big man that gets a lot of assists per game. He tends to move the ball. Jamal Murray here, he's averaging under 5 assists a game. Now, is Jamal Murray and Steph Curry on the same level? No. But what my point is, in this day and age, your guard isn't your main focus on moving the ball. And in certain systems, it's swing to where, your team could be averaging 30 assists a game, but your guard might only be getting 5 to 7 of them. So I don't hold that account. Like, I don't hold Curry accountable for that. I do get the Russell Westbrook is averaging 10 assists a game, but I just feel like Russell Westbrook is just looking for the triple-double. Chris Paul is averaging, 8.8 assists a game?
Russell Westbrook has probably be able to pass too, so.
Yeah. But Chris Paul is averaging, 8.8, we said, assists per game? So,
yeah.
And he's averaging a little under 16 points a game. And if you're going to average 16 and have 9 assists, I like that as a guard. But if you're going to give me 32 a game and get me 6 assists, this day and age, 32 and 6 is just as good as 15 and 9. Especially when you're shooting at a high
I agree.
At a high clip.
We're nitpicking at this point. My nitpick is I would like to see his assists a little higher. And his overall field goal percentage on the season is sub 50%. I know he shoots a lot of threes, and he's being forced to shoot even more because he feels like he's got to score 50 a game. But in an age where efficiency from the floor matters in the NBA, and as a guy who over his career has been more efficient than he has this year, I would like to see him pick that efficiency up a little bit, and I think that would actually simultaneously raise his assist numbers.
Do you happen to have his PER?
I don't know the number, but if I'm not mistaken, he's 5th in the league.
Okay. What I wanted to do and I forgot to do, I did want to give you guys the plus minuses of when they're on the court, just to get an idea on how much they do impact the team, because records are good and all, but it's a team game. So getting the idea of the plus minuses, which these 4 guys that we're talking about, they're all pluses. There's no minuses.
For sure.
I'm gonna put that in next week when we get an update on how these guys look over a week span here. I'm good over here on my end on the NBA. Rob, do you have anything you want to add? Do you have any questions for me? I know you don't follow the NBA as much as I do, so.
No, I mean, I think everything you made as a point was a valid point, as to why you have Curry in front. I just have Jokic in front because I think it's what he's done, I think, is more impressive than what Steph's doing. And since that's how I know the award gets voted, that's why I'm leaning Jokic right now. But if Steph continues to fire off these 40 and 50-point games, he's going to end up winning it because he's just going to have more moments over the season than Jokic does.
To me, the only way Curry does not win MVP and really to stay the front runner is if Golden State slides and they're not even in the bubble. That's the only way to me that he does not get MVP. He's clear cut the best player on the planet right now. There's nobody near him. They played Boston and they were sending 2, 3, 4 guys at him and he was still hitting shots. if you guys didn't actually watch the Golden State Boston game, I don't know if you're gonna go back and watch it, but that's a game. Boston and Golden State, they were going back and forth all fourth quarter. But yeah, that ends our NBA segment. Stick around as we will be doing our top 5 quarterbacks in this draft in order, 1 through 5. Spoiler alert, Trevor Lawrence is 3rd on my list. But yeah, and
we drug tested him for crack the other day. We're waiting for results to come back. For our fan base out there, prayers for Matt here that he recovers from his mental injuries.
All right, Philly Frenzy out.